MAYHEM.
Oh. Woo!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Oh, there we go. I love that. Well done. Also, guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. What an epic duo to have on the show after last night's episode. Can I just say? And I'm bummed that you're here, Marisha, but wow, I'm super excited at the same time. It's conflicting emotions. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how you feel, Mike.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're here, but I'm sad for you that you are here. I wish you were still on the island.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy you guys are here and you're not on the island.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a one-armed bandit if I was on the island. I think I'd struggle and really hide behind you. I'm not going to lie, Marisha, like a lot of people were doing on the island, I think.
Also, this cold front on Survivor wouldn't be a fun time. No one wants to be in a shelter in this extremely cold weather across South Africa right now. So I think it might be a good time to not be on the island.
No, I'm really getting cold just here and thinking about what we went through. I'm just getting shivers. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you for joining us. We're super, super lucky to have you. And we might as well just kick off. We normally start off with an icebreaker. And today, seeing as we've got Mike, who was on season 7, we've got you, who was on season 8, 2 survivors. I'm going to ask you guys a question in terms of, we're going back, way back, Fear Factor vibes. Joe Rogan, before he was the big thing. Would you rather eat cockroaches or B, I didn't say A, but that was A, or B, be placed in a tank of snakes? Full of snakes lying down. Hey.
Yeah, I can handle that, eh? Cockroaches are fine, but a snake, no thank you. It's one thing, Marisha, I don't know if you guys had to deal with snakes in person, but at least when we played in Samoa, there were no snakes on the island. The running joke was that the biggest snakes were the castaways. We didn't have snakes in Samoa. And I can't imagine what it must have been like for you guys to have to constantly deal with the threat of, I don't know, like a puff adder or something on the wild coast. So that's another level of fear for me.
I did see a small snake. I mean, well, there's many snakes on Survivor, like you say.
But yeah, how big was it? You said small snake. I mean, jeepers.
Oh, yeah, only a little one. I think we could have handled that one on its own.
Okay, but I think that's an interesting cue. From a scale from 1 to 10. I'm missing all the cues today. Out of all the people you played with, can you rank the people of their snakiness that you played with on Survivor?
Yes. Am I allowed to do that?
Of course, you're allowed to do whatever you want. Look, Mike's saying yes. Of course you can. Also, we got Joseph Lim. By the way, Marisha, I just need to say we've got people watching live with us. They're going to be asking questions. They're going to be saying their things. And we've got Joseph here saying he would like to eat cockroaches, so he's in the same group you're in. Okay, but let's get back to the snakes. Snakes, let's hear it.
I think I have to give Santoni the snake over there. She's a real sneaky lady. But if I see her in real life, I love her to bits. So, yeah, say she's sneaky.
Did you have any idea about the level of snakiness whilst you were on the island? Was it clear to you then, or did it take you watching it retrospectively to realize that she was very good at jumping between alliances?
No, we had an idea that she was good doing it, but seeing it last night, I realized she's amazing. I would never be able to jump through all those hoops and keep my head straight, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I thought about it and I was like, everyone is playing a game, or everyone is playing. If this was a situation where you guys were playing in the sand, you had old Vuna, old Zamba building your sand castles, building your fortresses, and then you had Anesu and you had Santoni playing on the swings, just going in between both fortresses. That's how I saw them playing it.
And Anesu has this lovely, soft voice. She can tame a snake. I tell you, she can definitely tame a snake. And she tamed me 110%.
There's a bit of sadness in there. I'm not gonna lie. That was that hurt a little bit because we know what it's like to be humbled by someone who's very good at Survivor, and suddenly it clicks in your head. Maybe I wasn't as in tune with things as I thought that I was, and that's quite a strange reality to sort of encounter. When that moment sort of clicked for you, when you start to realize, like, maybe you weren't quite as attuned as you should have been. Is there a sense of panic on you on the island when it finally clicked that, oh no, I might have misread the situation?
Definitely last night, I realized I misread all the signs, and people might think it's because I was cocky or something like that. I wasn't. I just went with the crowd and what was decided.
Yeah, you were calling a spade, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was too true to my word.
Yeah, looking back on it, like saying, you saying being purely honest, and it comes across like you come very cocky. When you're looking back, are there any regrets with the way in which they played out?
Yeah, I would never. I don't really think it played out that brutally. I want to give myself a pat on the back there. But I actually wanted to align with Santuni. I thought that she made me understand that she was the underdog. And I thought, yes, this would be good. Let's pull her in and we could work together. And now I'm the worst person on earth after saying something little.
That's the funny part about being on Survivor is you say 1 million words in a day and there'll be 4 words that perhaps put you in a negative light, and the very skilled and highly passionate editors will find those words to construct a narrative, and suddenly you're on TV saying something so idiotic, and it's brilliant. It's such a wonderful experience to watch this play out, and also have this sort of behind the scenes view that you probably would never intentionally tell Santoni that she's got 4 votes until she's out of the game. It probably was just a manner of speech, and now the whole country and the whole world seen you busy telling Santoni her fortunes.
Yes, yeah, but that was where I'm cuddling or scratching her back or something like that. I mean, yeah, well, I'll take it. Like you said, it only lasts a year.
Yeah, one day soon, be forgotten.
Well, I don't know. Ask Mike how quickly that year went. Was it a quick year or slow year, Mike?
Well, this was interesting because remember that Immunity Island was initially announced at the finale of season. I wasn't at the finale, but it was a short while after the finale of season 7. And then COVID came and it essentially put season 8 on the back burner. So Marisha, you must have been in waiting for quite a long time before you finally got the call to go play. And I imagine that must have felt long. And so for me, we had a nice long layover between the end of our season and the start of the next one. And so basically by the time season 8 began, I didn't have any especially problematic feelings about my season coming to the fore. It was all just I got to sort of kick back and relax and enjoy the season as a fan, because my season does feel like it was such a long time ago. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been so into it. It's been such a fun season so far. I think it's fair to say that this is one of the most impressive casts ever in Survivor South Africa. So it's just been so good from the start, and the product has been exceptional.
Yeah, and on that point of it being impressive, not just the cast, but when we're looking at the episode, in particular the episode that showed last night, if you're going to go out, Marisha, you're going to want to go out in the episode last night. And I think in history, to date, it is the best episode Survivor South Africa has put out there, and in my opinion, challenges 99% of most seasons in all franchises. So there's got to be some pride when you're looking back in that. I don't know. I know there's some sadness attached to it, but what are your thoughts with regards to the joyful moments when you think about it?
Yeah, I believe every time we talk about this today, I've been talking about it a lot, and it actually helps reliving it and going through the emotions. I think when they read my name, I wasn't angry, upset. I was content because I made it to merge, and I think that's where I wanted to be. I mean, further on would have been great, and it was a great episode. Sitting here at home watching it, it does blow your mind. You have to stop, rewind, let's watch it again. So I'm happy. I'm sad that I went, but I'm glad to see people were crying when I left.
Yeah, there are people who are very inspired by you, and I think that there was an episode where it was your daughter's birthday on that particular day, and I think you were so endearing in that episode, and you really showed a great side of your humanity, and it really brought people across. And that's why there was this intense duality where in this new episode, before you were voted out, for the first time, there was a villainous element to you where it was it added a whole layer to your character arc. And I think that was such a fun thing for us to watch. So I don't know if I might be jumping the gun a bit here, and if I am, forgive me for it. But I want to just ask you about the moment that you're sitting at Tribal Council. Now, a few minutes later, once you know you're voted out, you'll say that the opposite alliance had a better plan than your plan. So what kind of inclination, was there any awareness of the fact that it could potentially be you, whilst you're always nervous going to Tribal Council? Number one, how likely did it seem that Tyson would play the idol that some people imagined he might have, and he did? And then how did you make the decision to have the idol played for Nicole, and sort of like, what was it like when that moment finally struck and you realized
I think
that
before Tribal,
the dice were landing on your name?
Yes, and before Tribal, we were running through all these scenarios. What if this happened and this happened? Okay, then we'll do this. If this happens, we'll do this. And I'm like, you guys have to tell me for who I must vote, because I'm clueless now. I'm losing it. And then just before we went into Tribal, I had a chat with Chappies on the beach, and he said to me, he dropped it that, he said, if I go tonight, you're going to be next. There's a target on your back. And I thought, I'm fine for tonight. They can gun for me next week on whatever. And I can remember I go in confident, thinking, yes, we've got it under control. But you never, you're not confident when you sit there, because suddenly Niku starts asking these questions and you're like, what? Did this happen? What? And when Tyson played that idol for Chappies, I knew something's going wrong. So yeah. And then the worst move of the season so far is me playing my idol for someone else.
Yeah, well, it's got to be up until this point. I'm glad you can own that. But curious about that moment. I mean, you see that happening. Do you not then go, wait a minute, I found this idol. If you're looking objectively and you're going, okay, you've got Nicole, you've got Amy, you've got the core, the old group of people in together. And I mean, now that you're watching the episode back and you hear them calling you the alpha of the ladies, which is pretty interesting. Did you not think at that moment in time, just be like, hey, hang on, this is my idol. Let me just take it. I know people are saying Nicole, Nicole, Nicole. Did you think about that? And also, why was it suspected that you thought Nicole was going instead of yourself?
They were throwing her name around the whole day, saying Santoni was telling us, we're going to vote for Nicole. They're voting for Nicole. And she got paranoid. And I think we had such a strong bond. I also wanted her to feel safe. I thought, yes, we'll play it for you. When she looked at me with those eyes, said, beautiful little eyes. It's like, take it. I held the idol and I gave it to her, and I thought it would be so selfish. I would look selfish if I play this for myself. Would I want people to see me out there? Yes, you're selfish. She asked for it, and I jump up and says, "Nee, jammer, it's for me." So, wrong.
So she got it. So did she get it because she asked for it, and you were just like, I feel too bad to say no.
Yes, I'm easy. I'm like that.
This is interesting to me, because obviously So what is hard to understand about a season of Survivor that we don't really understand as casual viewers and as people who aren't on the island is that a lot of Survivor is defined by the culture of a particular season and a tribe and an alliance. And in previous versions of Survivor South Africa, we've seen that South Africans tend to be quite a loyal player base. In my season, a big alliance ran the season because people were so intense and loyal. And the fact that when you identify the idol in the tree, you then spoke to an alliance member to come with you to get it speaks to the fact that the culture of your alliance was one that relied on loyalty specifically. It was an alliance that didn't necessarily feel the need to bare its teeth yet because you had such a strong numerical advantage. So what you did makes sense in the context of your season and was probably the right thing to do in context. It's just that Tyson made such an epic move that it superseded whatever the culture was. And I think that's what makes the season really work. And I hate that it's taken you out, Marisha. I'm sorry about that. But what it does do is it opens up the season in a way that previous seasons should have been opened up at earlier points. And it sort of helps South African Survivor players progress a bit. It sets a new precedent. So what Tyson did was like really impressive. I think that was a bit of a game-changing move in itself. And I think that the season now is opened up to a whole new world because basically you have the free agents you identified in Anesu and Santoni, and Chappies has survived. Like, despite the fact that virtually at every tribal he's vulnerable at, Chappies' name has been around. If you go back to where you were before tribal, is it pertinent at that moment among your alliance that Chappies needs to go? Is he this sort of figure that everyone sort of honed in on and said, Chappies is a dangerous player, we need to watch out for him? Is that what's happening as the episode progresses, Marisha?
Yeah, I think if you watch in the previous episodes, he's a monster when it comes to challenges in the water, outside of the water, and everyone saw him as a threat. So what you usually do, you get rid of that. You have to break them up, send them away, break up the blondes and shunt the one away. So that's why if the target was on Chappies' back the whole time. And yes, he's entertaining. I watched the season of the episode last night. He's amazing. Where did he come from? So I'm glad they're keeping him on to entertain you guys.
Well, I just think it's interesting that we started off the episode talking about cockroaches, because right now he's a cockroach that can't be killed, and that's pretty interesting. We've got Joseph here asking the question, did you know you had a spy shack? Did you know that Chappies was hiding by the water well?
Not at all. We heard talks that he had something. We didn't know where it was. And I never saw him there. And that waterhole had so many mosquitoes. So I'm taking my hat off for him sitting between those mosquitoes.
Yeah.
So this is interesting to me. When we look at the physical dimensions of the Osindela Tribe Beach, it's not the largest area that you're allowed to that you're able to play in. It's quite a small beach and quite a small shooting location in that particular instance. Tell us about what it was like to try and maintain alliances when it was so obvious, because of the fact that you were in a fairly congested space with many players at the merge beach. What was that like, trying to work out game plans and tactics when there were so many conversations within our shot at every moment?
Yeah, you see everyone the whole time. So I don't know where they went to have these conversations. Even when you went to the loo to do something, there's someone next to you. So I don't know how it works, because there's no privacy. So I know Renier and I would lie on the hammock and we would just little gestures to each other, or Nicole and I would go collect a bit of wood. But it was difficult because we didn't have a big room to walk or roam freely. I think you know it. They allocate that it must be, this is your area and this is where you can go. So for Chappies to think outside the box and build himself a lookout tower to get all the information he needs, that's amazing.
This one's slightly off topic from the game sort of perspective, and I just want to ask the question because we've obviously got both of you on, former castaways. The toilet situation you mentioned, Marisha. I know past season there was the talk of Coconut Grove and all this other stuff. How do you, in terms of culture speaking, you mentioned it, you've touched on this, Mike. How do you guys go about designating areas when you go, no, this is the new Coconut Grove, hypothetically speaking? How does that work? How does that play out?
I wonder, Mike, did you guys not do everything in the ocean?
Okay, so in our season, it was a little bit more rustic than season 8. Samoa's the real deal, guys. We basically, what happens is, so my first tribe beach was called La May, and it was this beautiful tropical location with this gorgeous reef in the distance, and that was lovely. And we sort of designated a certain area that was kind of near a marsh that we said, all right, we can let this area become Coconut Grove, where you know the business gets done. But then I went to it. I was swapped to another a tribe beach, which was called Te Alo, and Jacques very proudly announced that aquadumps were the norm there, which is quite an alarming experience. I don't want to get too grotesque, but they are the nature of the ocean implies that movement happens. So there's a lot of skill involved. At the first couple of aquadumps aren't the most enjoyable experiences. But you'd also be stunned by how castaways end up, and some regulate quite well, but certain castaways, I'm talking 20 plus days without any visits to the toilet, without being able to get. I'm not joking.
That cannot be healthy for anyone. Come on now,
It became an obsession amongst us. You'd keep tabs on who was going to the bathroom, and
all this time, you think when people are doing their confessionals, they got the sweat beads because they're strategically panicking. Meanwhile, it's because they've been holding it in for 20 odd days.
I'm not sure about how you guys managed to get around that, but we had a good mixture of using leaves and the ground and aquadumps.
We couldn't. I don't think anyone did an aquadump where we were. The ocean was so rough. We had a joke that you would come out with turds on your back, and you would be a brown turd. So we also allocated little spots and had I'm going that way, you go that way. So I'm glad I didn't experience that.
Yeah, it's not great, eh? And also you see a lot, like you see a lot of people's very intimate business on Survivor. There's a great story about one of my fellow castmates, and I'm not gonna like tell you who it was, but you'll be able to guess it. And I was busy. It was daytime, and I was busy walking on the beach, like very going to go hang up some washing or something. When I say washing, I mean clothing that I rubbed in sand in the ocean. And he shouted, "Mikey, I'm taking a dump." And I was just like, "Why are you telling me?" And we locked eyes and everything. It wasn't great. It definitely.
That's one way to build an alliance. That's real trust over there.
Yeah, there's real bonds there afterwards. I thought it would have lasted me. I reckon once that happened, I had the game in the bag. But clearly, I was wrong on that in that instant.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move away from this subject and let's bring it back to a question that Hilko had asked. He said, Marisha, when you say you guys need to tell me who to vote, were there some bigger leaders in your alliance than others?
No, I don't think we had like a leader of the pack. We just, Renier was always the one that would strategize well with us, and we would run through the plans. And then I would say, but what about voting of Warda? And then someone would say, wait, it's not part of the plan now. Then I would say, what about this? So I was always throwing out names. But no, we always had a consensus of who we thought would need to be voted off. It wasn't the one-man show, and I think that's where the loyalty aspect came in as well. Where Mike talked about playing my idol, taking Renier to get the idol. We were loyal to each other, and that's just the way I'm programmed and how we played this season so far.
Did that form part of your preseason planning when you watched Survivor and you were a fan of the show and you weighed up the kind of game you would look to play? Was that part of your plan that you were going to be someone who prioritized loyalty and a strong alliance, or was that a result of the fact that you felt that you had to adapt your game to the kind of cast you were with on that season?
No, I went in. I remember when they asked me, so what type of game are you going to play? And I said, yes, do I need a game? I thought I'll just be myself.
Oh, really?
And I'm honest, and that's the type of game I wanted to play. I wanted people to see who I am. I'm upfront. I say it like it is. So it just worked in my favor all the way. So I'm so lucky. I didn't need to stab people in the back to get voted out.
Knowing what you know now, though, Marisha, going with that mentality of you're going to be yourself and play the game, would you do something different? Is it possible to win the game by doing that, especially in the context of this season?
I think if you look at previous players, Werner, he played an honest game. He got very far. Yes.
Well,
but
Tony might differ, but might beg to differ in that scenario. I don't know. He's Alliance member, might say no. Just saying.
Yeah, I think you can. Like I've always told people, Survivor is the one game where you can leave all your morals behind. And I think people expect you to stab people in the back. The one time I make a joke about a chicken, my head's cut off. But
no chickens were harmed in the filming of this show. I'm just putting that out there. Maybe on Survivor, not on this one.
Marisha, when you sort of go back to your preseason gameplay and then when you're on the island itself, it became quite immediately obvious that you are an outstanding challenge threat. And I think for your castmates, it's probably a good thing you were the first boot at Merge, because I think you would have been quite rampant later on if there were some more brawny challenges. And I think there's also been a great influence of some of the Australian Survivor challenges, which are very much brawn based, into this new season of Survivor, and it's been great to watch. So I really feel a bit robbed as a fan to not be able to watch you go play individual games and immunity challenges on your own. But when you were weighing up your options early on in the game, did you ever think about maybe underplaying how physical you are to try and keep a target off your back? Or in that instance, when it was time to compete, did you just launch into it and make people look silly because you were so good?
She gooid, boy.
Yes.
She gooid.
My husband told me, please don't go in there yourself.
Yeah.
When the challenges are there, I want to win. I want to give it my all. So I'll somehow grab your bag of coconuts and throw it over the field just so that we can win. So it's very difficult for me not to be competitive. And the other girls saw it. I mean, I'm not saying they're not as physical as I am, but my brain just goes into overdrive. And I think as well, because I did this to prove to the world that mothers can do anything you're capable of. And my daughters are at home and they're watching this. I want to give it my all. So I definitely put a target on my back over there, but I never raised my hand to build a puzzle.
Joseph's saying he's like, he didn't realize how much of a physical threat you were, and he said on TV because you were described as a guest house owner. So that's an interesting sort of juxtaposition. This strong lady, and personally, I know you mentioned the context of the ladies, but from my perspective, me looking at the game, and I mean Mike's already touched on it, we were robbed from your sort of individual challenges, and this is the one challenge that arguably played to your weakness. But you are, from a Survivor sort of playing aspect, a physical specimen nonetheless. And I don't even think it's just within the female realm. I think you could have taken 99% of the men out there personally. So that's huge credit. And we've got, just to move off the topic of the physicality, we've got Dylan asking a good question. He's saying, did you ever expect Amy and Renee's power couple during the show?
No, not at all. It only came out for 2 episodes ago, and I was shocked. I didn't know there was a bond like that. I actually thought Renee and I had something going on. So he can play it hard, but that just shows you he's got a good game. He's socially very well.
And he's great in confessionals as well. He's been a great narrator for this season. I wanted to ask you something that was really, it's been an important element for me. Like I think as a Survivor fan, we've become quite accustomed to seeing very similar locations in recent years watching the show. Everything is very tropical and beachy, and that's great because it suits the format well. But the fact that SurvivorSA have made this production work in a local environment has been kind of a dream come true for me. I always imagined that as a young kid, I could watch a Survivor season in South Africa, and it's come to fruition. So What
Well,
was
you
it
spoke
like?
about it. Whoa, wait. I know you keep that question. I mean, Mike Vee, he came on here, I think a year ago, exactly to the date, and we were talking about winners at war, and you said exactly the same thing. You said, listen here, SurvivorSA, get your shit together, and let's get out there and do a local season. And LaRue was like, you know what? Let's do this. If there was probably planned before that, but he did that. So it's amazing that that's come to fruition. So if we're looking at profits, we might have a profit here on TNO. I'm just saying.
I don't know if it was that much of my influence, and it definitely wasn't actually. But what I do know is that I was very excited when I heard about this, and it's been great to see like a whole new Survivor landscape. It's unique looking. It doesn't remind me of anything else. Initially, I was like, does it sort of look like Nicaragua, or maybe we can compare to San Juan del Sur, like maybe a bit Philippines-y. No, it's its own standalone location. So what was it like, Marisha, to be sort of on the Wild Coast, not especially far from home? You were less than 2,000 kilometers from home at any given moment, wherever you were in South Africa. And therefore, physically, your distance between where you were and what you've known wasn't that great. Whereas certainly for me, I was on the other side of the world, 12 hours away from 12 hours on, like it was 12 hours apart in terms of time zones. What was it like getting to play in South Africa and to see, potentially like South African cows on the mountainsides as you were competing in that merge challenge and stuff? What was it like?
Obviously, I had no idea where we're going. We just landed, and I thought, oh, this is just a layover. And then, no, it's not a layover. And the only thing I know about Durban is it's very hot. You're going to sweat. There's going to be mosquitoes. And then we took a drive, and it's beautiful. It's really something different. And I'm planning on taking the family up there because you get a bit of everything. There's mountains, there's ocean, there's rivers, cows, there's wild pigs running past you, and monkeys. So South Africa is so big. I mean, we're capable of doing it here. Why would you fly across the world to shoot it? Get other Survivor contestants to come and participate in South Africa.
Yeah. And question to that, to build on that, to the two of you. Do you think next season, if they have another season and seasons after that, should they be kept locally, or should they, given COVID goes away and everything else, should they start looking to go abroad again? What's the consensus there between the two of you? I know it might help from a tourist perspective, but in terms of the location and the set, because we know the location is part of the game and it's the set for the game.
I think they should keep it local. The people who are going to sign up for season 9 might say, "Nee, Marisha, no, we want to and try and get more people to come and do it in our country. Why would we take all the income Survivor does a lot for communities as well. There where you're situated, they give back to the community, and our country needs it. I wouldn't say more than other countries, but I think it's amazing to be able to do it here.
I'm on the other side of the spectrum where I'm very happy that we've seen it, and I would like to see perhaps one more, because I imagine that by the time season 9 is filmed, I don't know if we could potentially imagine that everything will be back to normal. So I imagine that we would see one more local season. I would love to see a SurvivorSA Cozy Bear as an example, or a Vesca season, which Dante would really enjoy, I think, and he could be a consultant on it, or even an inland. I mean, the Aussies are doing a season in Concurry right now, which is an inland location in the Outback. And I would love a similar kind of season. Perhaps they could shoot one in the Drakensberg in the mountain foothills, just the survival elements I think would be remarkable to watch. But I do think that there's great value in isolating the castaways from anything that feels even close to being relevant. And for you guys, that was a result of the fact that COVID was an element. So you had that mental weight of knowing that there was a pandemic raging on beyond your game, which would have had a huge mental duress on you. And I think it would have simulated similar conditions to being as far away from home as one was. But for me, when I got to Samoa, and it was 4 days to get there, no exaggeration, we traveled for 4 days to get to location. That kind of made me realize that I was doing something monumental, and it definitely brought home how important it was that I didn't throw in the towel when times got tough, because I'd come all the way to Samoa. So for me, there's great value in textured locations, getting to see more of the world. We're so bored of seeing the US's 3 beaches being rotated. I would love to see another season being shot in Sao Tome on the west coast of Africa, or Papua New Guinea, or Japan. I think it'd be rad.
Yes. Oh, we'll take them to Sutherland, the coldest place in South Africa.
It's also a good time to be talking about this, considering the snow we have in our country. Also, shout out to Dylan for knowing the fact. He's from Australia, and he knows that northern Drakensberg would be a nightmare with rain for most of the people. So that's an interesting one. I like the fact that you touched on you traveled 4 days, getting to Samoa, Mike, and it built this grandeur of playing the game of Survivor. Marisha, in terms of it being played locally, did it kind of take that gloss off a little bit and say, you know what, the shackles are off here. I can go wild, excuse the pun, from the get-go?
Yeah,
because
I think as like for myself, I went in with no preconception, or I had nothing signed up, nothing planned. I could just go in and enjoy it. There were definitely castaways that was very upset that it's not a tropical island. So you don't say this on Survivor, because I mean, that could get you voted off. I mean, you shouldn't complain, because that could get you voted off. So it's hard.
It could also go in the other way. Like you also agree that should be on a tropical island? Yes, I do. Yeah. Let's be in an alliance. You know, it could also be one of those. I don't know.
It looked tough though. It looked really, really, really hard. I think I was sort of I kind of pictured when you guys might be filming, and I don't live especially far. I live 194 k's from Vuna Beach, which is embarrassing that I know that. It's an embarrassing fact. I admit that. I'm weird. I got into it, guys. Anyway, so I live 194. I was busy monitoring the weather, and it was putrid. It was cold, and it was rainy, and it doesn't, you know, if someone says it's 19 degrees, it's very hard to articulate what it's like to experience 19-degree rainy weather when you've got no protection and you're in the elements. It's horrible. It's really, really, really tough. So I think the fact that you guys endured what you did is commendable, and I would say that compared to any other Survivor South Africa season, because of the fact that you weren't in a tropical location, you were subtropical, Marisha, I think you guys were the bravest we've ever seen. It was very impressive.
Yeah, I think we really complained a lot under each other regarding the weather. I've been to tropical places. The thunder can come down, 2 hours later you dry. I'm all for that. But here you never get dry. You are wet constantly. Yeah, we did have sunshine. We did have nice days, but the wet was more than the nice.
Yeah, we had our first 5 days were drenched as well. It's miserable. It's hard. I'm getting freaked out thinking about it now. PTSD is rolling in, guys.
No, you shouldn't mention that. Why did I sign up for this? Are you also feeling the same? Are you guys feeling the same?
On that note, Marisha, in terms of your highs and lows, in terms of something that no one got to see you do on the island, what was the highest high while you were there that we didn't get to see, and the lowest low?
I think I actually taught Tyson how to catch crabs, real crabs, like running around on the beach. And we had like a fun activity doing that. We would go out in the mornings and catch that with little baskets. And the lows would be where I felt sorry for myself and missing my daughter on her birthday. I think that was the hardest part of it all. I didn't want to share that information with everyone. I didn't want everyone to think, oh, shame, she's going to use it to manipulate me. I don't want to be voted out again. Well, that was the low. But going through it, man, when that night when he snuffed my little torch, I missed the island. I wanted to go back. It's like you empty.
When your daughter watched you go in that challenge, what was her reaction?
Oh yes, I'm a hero.
Yeah,
we had to rewind, do it again, and I'm
that's so cool.
And even that challenge where we had that water activity and we were throwing the hoops, and I was just grabbing the girls and throwing them. My daughter was like, wow.
Ragdolls. You were just, it didn't even look like you were doing much. You were just like, hey, walk in the park is what I do on the weekends. Hey, throw some goals around.
Bobby, you have to watch out. You have to watch out.
That's cool. And that's really awesome. One of my great thrills in my life is that one day my niece was she wasn't even 1 year old when I filmed Survivor, and she has watched a bit of this. She's 3 now. She's watched a bit of this season, and she's kind of like getting it. One day when she's like 10, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna show you this cool new TV show. I'm gonna play her some like Survivor, and then I'll end up, when she's into it, playing my season for her, and she can then watch me at 21 playing Survivor. And I think that's really cool for the rest of your life, Marisha. Your daughters and in future generations, your granddaughters will be able to look back on what you did in 2020 during a pandemic, and they'll be able to sort of pinpoint what you were like at that time in your life. And that's one of the great privileges of being on Survivor, is that no one can take what you've done away from you. You know, even if someone who thinks they're a super fan calls you out and claims that something didn't go, you made a bad decision, that stuff is irrelevant. Ultimately, it's a rich experience for you that you got to experience, and there's no one that can take that away from you. You got to merge. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I read some of the Facebook messages today, and I said, oh, I'm not going to read it again. I sound like a monster. But it's like when we watch rugby, everyone not playing the game has all the answers. That guy is, why is he the kicker? I don't even know rugby, and I can tell everyone, I have no idea why you're watching this, because you're just complaining. So play the game.
I love that. And you know, on that point, everyone who's come onto the show, all the previous boots have said exactly the same thing. Some of them a lot more serious in terms of being super fans, but they've all come on saying the moment their feet hit the ground, their strategies went out the window, and it's just different being in the game as opposed to externally analyzing, which is very, very interesting. We've got Marisa passing her jacket was also a high, speaks volumes about you. So there's some positive press for you, Marisa. That's also super cool. Yeah. And also to the fact of the merge, you made merge and you went out in a huge way. I think no one can complain. If you ask Mike, I think playing the season again, if he had to get voted out again, I think that's the way you want to kind of get voted out. But also the best part is you still hugely a part of the game moving forward. And we're going to see you give your votes at the end, which is super, super exciting. But now, guys, it's time. It is time for the Golden Spear. And the Golden Spear, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who do not know, is for the player of this episode who made the best move for their game. And so we're going to start off with Marisha. You're going to tell us who you want to nominate, and you're allowed to nominate more than one person.
Okay. After watching the episode last night, I have to give mine to Tyson. He is writing a resume. So yeah, I'm taking my hat off there, and yeah, Chappies as well, performing the way he did, Little Holes, and surviving the vote.
Mike?
I tend to agree with those two. I have really begun to root quite hard for Tyson. I think he's such a fun player to watch, and he does have some baller moves that he's been putting out. I've really enjoyed that. To quote Jeremy Collins talking about Natalie Anderson, he balled out, you know, like he did something really cool. So that was great. Also, I think we are seeing more and more of Rainier in the game, and whilst he didn't necessarily read the vote right correctly by playing the idol for Nicole, giving the idol to Nicole, I think that he's in a really, really good position right now. He seems to be the lifeblood of that big, strong alliance. And I also think that we're seeing, can I give the Golden Spear to a bromance? I'm very much getting Dominic and Wendell vibes from Kieran and Tyson. I think that those two together are very impressive. And I imagine, Marisha, I don't know if maybe you can elaborate on this a bit more, but when you watched them talk strategy on those polls, there must have been alarm bells ringing for your alliance at that moment.
I think I fell asleep underneath the poll because they were for hours and it didn't stop. And I never saw them chatting. I mean, Yes, how do we miss this? Anyway, yeah, Kieran is definitely someone to look out for as well. He's an intellectual guy, and with the previous vote when we went in, he made us trust him. Put my name out there, and we can work together. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's I like the fact that you mentioned the duo, because the Wendell Dom vibes definitely. Kieran and Tyson, I think they're both playing exceptional games, but together they are one hell of a force. But Kieran in particular, what I like about Kieran, Tyson, obviously right now we're seeing a lot of him. He's putting the punches. He's Mike Tyson, so to speak. Kid Dynamite, 100%, and he's at the forefront, leading the pack, and everyone's going, "Wow, he's CV." Like he mentions, is fantastic. Kieran, I think, winning this immunity challenge, even though it was instrumental in getting you out, Marisha, I think this is the one flaw in the game that he's made, that he's won the first immunity challenge, and people are now going to start looking at him differently and go, wait a minute. He can also compete in the challenges, and this might be a big thing, because up until this point, I think he's been a textbook 101 player in terms of how you play Survivor. You be a part of everything in the background, make the right connections, and this is the one where he's actually stuck his neck out a little bit. So interesting to hear what you guys might think as to, will this be a downfall for a player like Kieran in this sort of scenario?
Yes, I hope not. I really like Kieran. I wish I could play a longer game with him, because he's got so much to give in this game. So I don't know who's the target on next, huh?
Well, for me, I think if I was to be able to transport into the season, if you offered me one person who I could take the body of and live vicariously through them and try and win the game, I'd say Kieran is my best bet, because Kieran has put himself in such a great position in this game. He really does occupy a neat little middle ground. And I relate a lot to Kieran. I mean, I don't know if I might be being a bit boastful in this instance, because Kieran's been so good, but I do get a sense that we are very similar people, and I've kind of felt similarly about his tactics as I did about my own when I was on the island. And this is when Kieran can take authority, and he seems to be doing it really well. I was a bit lackluster in not pulling the trigger when I had the chance to. Kieran has made moves now that will set him up really well for deep in the game. Bear in mind, he's got a big, strong alliance he's up against. Your alliance, they've lost to Marisha, but right now they remain strong. That alliance is strong. There's a lot of players in that alliance. You think about Amy, Nicole, Rainier, Varda. I mean, those guys, there's a pretty strong bond between them from what we see on TV thus far. And so I think that Kieran has essentially announced himself as being a potential threat in the game with the immunity challenge win, with the move and sending a castaway to Immunity Island, and then also the fact that he is tied to Tyson through what we've watched in this last episode. I think he's got a bit of a target on his back now, and it's going to be great to watch him go.
And I'm just sad that you don't see enough of Kieran, because I thought I saw him as a bigger player than Tyson. I saw him as the guy that's making the strategies and thinking ahead. He's always, the thing with Kieran, he's always 5 steps ahead. You are still coming on, and he's already calculated everything. So, he's someone not to underestimate. And I think that's why it's good to be in an alliance with him, because he's an intelligent okie word.
Yeah. Definitely. And also, I think, Mike, you put an interesting thing, and this is probably going more towards Storm's Brewing, but the fact that Marisha's OG Alliance is still stuck core together, and we know that both Anesu and Santoni were swing votes, and we just don't know where they're going to land up, but that's going to be super interesting moving forward. Okay, but I'm going to count down to 3, and then the two of you are going to throw your golden spears, and you're going to say the name out loud. Are you ready? Are you ready? But I need energy, Marisha. I need energy. It needs to be one of those. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Tyson.
Marisha.
It's got to be Tyson.
Marisha, you can't give yourself the golden spoon. That's not how it works. Although maybe the golden spoon. I cocked that one up. It's actually golden spear. But yeah, golden spoon. Marisha gets a golden spoon, guys. Okay. So Mike, you say Tyson. You say Tyson.
Yeah,
okay.
Tyson, yeah.
Cool. Do you agree with that one, Marisha?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, because we're seeing so much of him, and he's really playing what we are seeing is good. It's good strategy. He's building a resume. So if someone else can show me I'm doing something better, I'm making more moves, definitely. But the game is on.
Before we move on to the wooden spoon, or something we should now call the golden spoon, I think that's what we're calling it. Joseph's asking, Marisha, can you please tell us what it's like to be the mayor of Ponderosa?
Yes, at least I'm the mayor. I wish I was the mayor of Tilbach, where I come from.
This is the first step in getting there, Marisha. The first step. You know, it would have been easier if you won the golden spear. I can tell you that much. That goes a long way in someone's CV. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm the first lady, they said. So that's a nice title to have. I don't like to be there on my own too long. So it's a great experience. It also helps you to work through what happened the night before and what's to come. So yeah, there was a lot of food. That's the only thing that I was.
Yeah, interesting about the food thing. You mentioned, pre-Survivor, you were always constantly trying to be on a diet, and then after you're like, no diet. What's it been like now since December? Has the diet come back into play? You're like, stuff the diet.
Yes, I'm trying to lose some weight, so I'm dropping myself. That's what I'm trying to say.
Survivor complicates your relationship with food in a big way. I found that it's been very difficult to go back to any kind of reasonability with food afterwards, because on the it's so embarrassing that on the island you spend at least 15% of your waking hours talking about it, and then your waking hours thinking about food. It's always just food. So it complicates your relationship with food in a big way.
I came back and I wanted to eat everything. It's like, don't touch my plate. Don't take a bite. And I thought it was just me. So I'm glad to hear that other people also struggle with it, because it's a mental thing. On the island, there is no food. You can't fight for food. But now you come home and there's food. So I really stuffed my car hole with food. And I'm getting back better now. It's not like I'm seeing a psychiatrist for my food habits, but it took me a while to realize it's not going to run away. It's going to be there tomorrow morning. Hawkeye.
Good to hear. Hilgaard's asking a question. He said, did Ponderosa help you get or process the post-game feelings easier being still in the game, as opposed to just being kicked off and said, hasta la vista, baby?
Yes, I definitely think you have time to think about it. You have time to evaluate what happened to you. And you guys know what's happening at Ponderosa, how it goes on. And that definitely helps you through the process. I feel sorry for the people where the game just ends and you have to go home, because you have no one to jump ideas from or vent and ask, why did you guys do this? Why did you vote me out? So it's definitely helps you.
Okay, that's good to know. So if you're ever going to play Survivor, you want to make the jury. You want to do it. Okay, Wooden Spoon. This is the moment in our show where we obviously nominate the players who did not do so well. Marisha, your name might might turn up. We'll see. Let's see. We're going to start off with Mike as to who he wants to nominate. Mike, let's hear it.
I'm reluctant to throw a name under the bus, Marisha, because as I said, it's all a cultural experience. And I think you read the culture of your season really well. You responded to what was going on around you and you made the best set of decisions you can. So everyone will tell you that you made a bad read. I'll tell you that you made the right read under the circumstances. I wish that you knew more, so you could have, made a more informed read. But knowing what you knew, I think that you made an okay read there. I think Nicole is probably going to fracture her position in the alliance a bit here, because she showed a lot of insecurity in this episode. And the fact that the idol was played for her, to me, suggests that before anyone's really noticed her strategic prowess, as far as we've seen on TV, she's sort of shown some insecurity. And that could be quite harmful when an alliance needs to be culled later on. So I think there's a potential for a Wooden Spoon to be given to Nicole in this episode. The reality is that there was a lot of fantastic gameplay in this episode. So I wish there was someone who did something stupid, like voting for someone who's played an idol. I did that. So it's not so clean cut this time. But I do think I do think that that probably Nicole, if I had to name someone, but I'd rather just not, because the guys are playing really well and they did play well in that episode. It really wasn't a bad go. The Oaks did well.
I feel, and I know it's my name that should get the wooden spoon, but I think I'm going to say Kihan.
But she wasn't there.
No. That's the point. She didn't throw. She threw the spoon in the works is what she was doing. That's what she was doing. Nicely played, Marisha. Nicely played. I mean, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it externally. I think it's to your point, Mike. You can really dive into everyone's game and try and find something. I mean, it's a horrible thing to try and find something wrong, but the reason we do the wooden spoon is so hopefully when people do come back, there are things that they can look out for. So it's kind of like a guidance in a way. And for me, one of the entrants there, I know Mike's smiling there. He's like, "Is it really?" But that's kind of the vibe, you know. So when we're looking at it, we're thinking about it, and I'm going back and I'm going. Firstly, you throwing Anesu under the bus for losing the chickens. That's an A-grade move. I think that's amazing. Well played there.
But I didn't do it. I don't take that as a...
Okay. But when we starting the episode with the idol, I want to talk about the idol. I'm thinking you called Ranita in to get that idol. I know, look, it's when we look at how it all played out, it was irrelevant. But could you not have gotten that idol by yourself?
I could have. I should have, but I didn't. Yeah. I'm an idiot. Because he couldn't manage to get up the tree, and then I got the idol. I think I got so excited and overwhelmed because here's an idol. We've been looking for one. We never found one, and it's like out of the heavens. So that was a rookie move. I just should have put it in my pocket.
I was a bit angry with you then, Marisha. I did unfortunately shout at you on the screen. Why is she doing that? Just take it yourself.
You see, it took a while, but the truth came out, Mike. The truth came out. Again, I think that's the one thing. Yeah.
It's all a product of the culture of the season, and this is what makes Survivor so great as a TV product. Is that on the island, you experience a set of conditions and a cultural norm, because ultimately the point of Survivor, as the hosts will always say at some point, is to form a new society. And in that new society, that's the norm. If Marisha had been caught out with having an idol, and she didn't tell her alliance, that could blow up in an equally detrimental way for her. And that's why you made the call when you did, because that was the culture of your season. Whereas as viewers, we are in a sanitized environment where we don't understand that culture that only the castaways can understand. So even now, having a chance to chat to you gives us such a beautiful insight into what the conditions of your season are actually like. And it definitely helps contextualize things. I would say that because of Tyson's baller move, because of the good work that Kieran did as well in the episode, I would say that it's very, very hard to claim that someone did anything overly wrong. If anyone, even Chappies, who was the obvious boot of the episode before the idol was played, Chappies did everything he could to save himself. He looked for an idol for hours. I mean, Marisha, you can confirm this was a long, long, long idol search. It was an obvious idol search. He managed to get into the Spy Shack. He looked for an advantage at the challenge. He had a really good episode.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Chappies, yes, where he was looking for that idol and last bit with those little fake clues, he was all over the place. It was, I've never seen something like that. He took out the Austin Dealey sign. He lifted it up. He ran with it. What are you doing? He says, no, this sign cannot stand here. I'm going to dig a new hole. And X says, what? Why? Why would you move it? Yes, but it was hectic and it was a great episode. But like you said, Mike, I really played it with honesty. And I think I would have found the idol and I would not have kept it a secret and came to you and said, listen, we're friends. Work with me, stick with me. I've got an idol. Let's play it, because I've only seen idols and it doesn't always work out great. You don't really want to keep that in your pocket.
Well, you said that. I think that was an interesting that particular point. Maybe that's why subconsciously you call Ranier over, because you say to yourself, you go, you don't want idols because you know what you've seen is always dangerous and there's a huge potential for it to backfire. And maybe that subconsciously was the reason as to why you called him into it. Maybe, I don't know. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, definitely, because I felt safe with Ranier. I felt we had a strong bond from day one. So if someone needed to know about it, it had to be Ranier, and he would be able to tell me and guide me what to do with it. Because he's also wise. He's like Kieran. They know it all.
It's actually,
I just got to say this.
It's a great point there, and I guess it segues quite neatly into the idea of Storms Brewing. But when you've been speaking tonight, and to that, but it does seem the more that I'm engaging with the idea of the season that Ranier is a heck of a player, and he's so well entrenched in the game. So, he's in a really, really good spot right now. If you felt comfortable with Ranier and you thought that he was potentially your number one, Amy thinks that too. Chappies thinks that he's got a great ally in Ranier. He's in a very, very good spot.
He is doing socially very well. He's covering all the basics. He can be a huweliks coach after this, telling people how to make sure your marriage succeeds. Cover all the basics.
Yeah. I think before we this is slightly off topic, but we got Bruce Audit coming in here, and he says, Marisha, all the way, sorry, the comment's gone away. Oh, there we go. From all the way around the globe in Canada, says, well done. Says, you should be very proud of the game that you played. Veteran viewers of Survivor know that the spin production does tell the story post-edit. So that's a Canadian saying, good job, Marisha. So that's super cool. That's awesome. And then we got another one, Wade Fentis, saying, you were a machine and a great player. That's super
Dad.
awesome too.
That's my dad. What's up, Dad?
Oh, meneer Venter, hoe gaan het?
Remember when we were crying together in season 7? We were both like busy weeping on screen together. This is a normal thing in our household.
Oh, no.
Okay, so it's the next time, Marisha, you're gonna have to get your father or mother on the show as well, so we can just have like a family session here.
No, we're all gonna sit and cry.
Q tissue sponsor. Anyone? What Twin Savers? Here we go. Maybe that should be the next sponsor for Survivor. Okay, guys, I just want to go back to the wooden spoon point. If we have to, because it was so great, and we can pinpoint anyone. The ultimate downfall of the episode, and Marisha's downfall, was the fact that we saw a lot more of Sean, which is fantastic. I enjoyed seeing how he thinks, because now I'm starting to go, this guy's a player. We just haven't seen much of him. But him calling out the fact that they were gunning Marisha, and Anela going, no, I'm convinced it's not going to happen. So ultimately, that's the turning point in the scenario in Marisha's game. So if we got to really, really look at something, is that not something we can focus on a little bit?
I'm sad Sean didn't come and mention that to me. I think then I would definitely have played my idol for myself and made Nicole feel more secure. And as well, in the final part of this episode where Sean said, is that the type of person you want to vote off, when I gave my jacket? And he said, game on. Yes, Sean. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It is a good point that, I mean, I think Anela has really himself, because he's such a big player, a lot of grief going into the last stages of the game. He's got lots of work to do if he's going to get deeper through his social bonds, because it wasn't a good read. Clearly now it's easy to say that he made the right read according to what he knew, but it wasn't the correct read. And your alliance is going to be hurting afterwards. So Anela's got some serious work to do as well. As much as he's been a fun player to watch, he is in a bit of a sticky scenario because of his feud with Varda. That's going to blow up in some way. I'm sure of it. It has to yield something. We've seen too much of it not to have any interest in it. And then, the consequence effect for Anela could be quite disastrous and devastating. And if he manages to weather the storm, then we've got a great player on our hands, because he really is in a sticky situation right now.
Yeah, and I think we sent him to the flippin' island the whole time, because we were hoping he's going to have our backs. I mean, that's why we sent the oak. But My back. Anyway.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't think he's getting this wrong intentionally. I think he was just convinced. He was convinced. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1, and you guys, let's hear the wooden spoon. Let's hear the names of the wooden spoon. 3, 2, 1.
Marisha. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy, but I have to do it. I'm sorry.
Oh my!
Yeah, your name is thrown out there,
sorry.
Marisha.
I'm sorry. I do have your back, and I know what it's like. I know what it's like to.
I'll take it. I can handle it. I mean, I'm from the farm. X-Funny Plus.
But we will make an exception. This is no ordinary wooden spoon because it's the first one of the merge, and you're the mayor of Ponderosa. As you said, Cindy fucking Rella is what you said. Those were your words. You know, so we will give you the golden spoon. Okay. All right. Moving on. Storms Brewing. This is where we make our predictions. Kind of think, well, you know, what we think might happen, who we worried for, who we think's in a good stead or good position moving forward. Mike, let's start with you, and then we'll move on to Marisha, because obviously she's privy to a lot more information that she's not allowed to divulge. So it'll be interesting to see what we can get out of her. So let's hear what you say, Mike.
So I think Hilgard has just drawn attention to
Dagvaard. What do you call subpoena for money?
Hilgard just drawn attention to Anela once more, and he used the hashtag spoonworthy, and I tend to agree with that assessment. He is in a tricky situation, and I think there's going to be some blow up between Varda and Anela, and I think that we are going to see some kind of repercussion from your vote out, Marisha, and I do think that there's a brewing storm on Anela's horizon, and this gives an opportunity for him to play a really impressive couple of rounds and get through the storm. But I do think that there's something ominous on the horizon for him. Equally, I just get the feeling that Santoni has played really well, and she's been a great character, and she's very beloved. But I feel that she is someone who is occupying a middle ground, and when push comes to shove, ultimately people will want to separate themselves from her because she offers a level of instability that is a threat in the current season. So I think that Santoni needs to really hunker down and commit to something in a big way, because she is playing hard and she has overplayed at moments. So I think that there might definitely be a threat on the horizon for her, although I imagine that'll come a little bit deeper into the game. But certainly I think that Santoni's got a lot of social work to do to make sure she can patch over the paths that she's crossed thus far.
No, go.
No, go ahead, Marisha. Sorry.
I just think if the truth comes out after my episode, who stabbed me in the back, they'll have a hard time, because I think this was the ideal time to form new bonds or new relationships to build on, to go further in the game. And if you can't be trustworthy with the first vote in merge, why would they stick with you? And just seeing the reaction of Nicole and Sean after me being voted out, I really hope something's going to go down. I hope the shit's going to hit the fan.
Well, look, as soon as Carla got voted off, Ward has gone on this war rampage, which is super cool. So maybe that's in the works for us. I think when we're looking at Santoni, I like the fact that you mentioned her, Mike, because yes, she's a threat from that perspective, and she's volatile in terms of you never know where she's going to stand. But at the end of the day, she's an extra vote, and she's going to be an extra vote as soon as long as they are like group senses of numbers. They'll be like, oh, maybe we can convince her, and she'll always be at the lower pecking order up until the point that there's a possibility she could weasel away into someone's core alliance just because of the fact that she is on the outskirts. I know it's a bizarre sort of concept to wrap around, but there's that potential. Potential. For me, it's interesting from Renee's perspective, someone who does have such a good social game, someone who had the idol, he played it wrong, he's still with his core group of friends, or his group alliance. Friends is the wrong term here. But, how does he recoup? Does it shake his game up a little bit? Does it start with him the fact that he got the read wrong? Because so far he's had his finger on the pulse. So how much does that affect him? And then it comes to Anesu making the sort of vote where she was like, I'm with the alliance, but I'm actually with the other alliance. And again, playing fine line, but being ideal with one party. So a question, how do you think that's going to play out for her? Marisha, I'm going to ask you the question because we know she's socially smooth. I think that's the word, silver tongue possibly. So do you think someone's going to pick that up?
No, I don't know. I didn't pick it up because she's amazing with words. She's got this tone of a voice that just makes you want to fall asleep and relax. So she definitely has that social aspect working in her favor. And if you see her, you wouldn't think she's a physical threat, but she's capable of a lot. She's a mentally strong lady.
Yeah.
It seems like from the word go, the public, the castaways, the producers, everyone seems to be well drawn towards Anesu. She does seem to have some sort of like supernatural quality to her that makes her such an appealing option. And, you know, I can relate to that. I watched one man run circles around everyone on my season. So I do believe that there sometimes can be a level of juju involved that makes people especially appealing as Survivor players. And Anesu does seem to have that in bucket load. She is a heck of a dangerous player. And it also is just about priorities right now. You know, what's the culture of the season and what does it demand from its players? What do people want to take out first? What's the biggest threat to the predominant alliances? So you also, I mean, and this is what's interesting is Chappies for me has longevity in the game. He just seems to be edited in a way that makes me feel like he is someone you could hedge your bets on to go really, really deep. And not to suggest that we aren't, but I'm talking day 35 plus. He is someone who seems to either have a chance to be there at the end or to get very close and go flaming out in an epic way. So Chappies seems like someone who's always on the brink of being voted out, but I don't believe it yet. My mind's telling me that, but my heart doesn't believe that Chappies is going anytime soon. So that there's also a duality in that. I think we're going to see a lot of shift in dynamics in the coming episodes because as we mentioned earlier on, when Tyson played that idol and Marisha, your alliance had its heart ripped out from it, I think it opened the game up to a lot more than what we've seen thus far. It could have been a pagonging type situation. You guys could have picked that alliance. We could have had a repeat of South Pacific in America or season 1 Borneo or season 7 Island of Secrets. But no, the game's been sort of burst open now, and it's going to be.
I totally agree with you what you just said. I think that the bandage has been ripped off. And I think things are going to change. They're going to come out full throttle in the next episodes. That's my gut feeling because
It's exciting.
I could see how emotional Nicole was. Yeah. And Sean just said it's now game on. And I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think we shouldn't play it safe the whole time.
Oh God, my mind's telling me no, but my body, Michael, it's telling you something else. Okay, one last name to wrap it up. Amy, nothing's been said. We haven't seen too much, but again, very, very, very smart player. Always involved in the right sort of conversations, especially in your alliance. Marisha, just to look a bit more in depth in terms of, we're not seeing a lot of her personality come through, but what are her key traits that are making her so good right now in terms of, even though we're not seeing it?
I think Amy has a softness towards her. You like her, what you see. And I think until our tribe swap, where we got back together, she had to play a good game not to be voted out because she was in the bottom. Or Sean had to save her. So we don't see everything that's happening, but there's not much of Amy yet. And I hope there's a lot to come because I can remember asking her, are you sure you're just a PA? You talk very well. You think very clearly. And she's like, yes, I'm just a naughty PA. And she
also, PAs, can I just say, PAs are dangerous. So if someone's saying they're a PA, I go, attention to detail. They follow up. They do a lot of the grunt work. It's hectic. Yeah, PAs.
I think it's like a martial arts, karate, something underneath there. Yeah, so we haven't seen a lot of Amy or Sean. I mean, Sean always opens his mouth, but there's nothing happening. No, we're not seeing him.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's true. I'm looking forward to seeing Sean go. I I thought that after his
Go
survival
off the
episode
island,
1,
or but do you mean go
no,
off
no,
the
no.
island?
I
or-
mean, I'm looking forward to
Oh,
watching him go
take
in the
off.
game. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing him sort of come into to third gear, because we sort of got a great glimpse of him early on, and then he's faded into the background, which was the right response. You know, you don't want to be playing too hard too soon, and the fact that he's found a way to sort of blend into a bigger votes puts him in a really good position. And I think that, you know, you've teased it now. We could potentially see a bloodlust from Sean, because he's seen what's happened to you. And that's a good kick up the ass that players sometimes need to start going, okay, I'm here now. I've got this far. It's time to start playing, or I'm going to end up in a very similar position to what my fellow tribe mates have endured. And that's the reality of the game, is if there's numbers, it's time to go, you know?
Mm. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah,
just
someone
like
to
that.
look out for.
Sorry. Keep going, Marisha.
No, I think he's highly intelligent as well, and that might have been the way he wanted to play it at the low. But he's strategically, and he thinks about it. He's one of the oldest contestants this year, and he gives it his all. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Nicole calling him an old man, and he's 40. I was just thinking to myself, this is a bit backwards. Yeah.
She's 25, so everyone is old in her books.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike and Marisha. We're going to wrap up. Final thoughts. What do you want to leave the people with?
Me or Mike?
Both. You're both so awesome. I just want to hear both your final thoughts.
Marisha, please go first.
Yes. Please don't hate me. Please don't hate me.
Who are these people hating you, Marisha? Send us their numbers. We will personally phone them on behalf of TNO. Say, stop your nonsense. This is unacceptable. Move on with your life. Because
Yes,
honestly,
we know where you live. No.
And also, I'm not sending anyone after you. I'm sending Marisha after you. That's what I'm doing.
And if I want to throw you under the bus, you'll know when I throw you under the bus. I'll go full throttle on that one.
Yeah. Cheapers. Yeah. Is that all you want to say? Come on, there's got to be something else. The haters must sleep, otherwise they live under a bus. Yeah.
No, yes, I want people to know that the people you sometimes see in the game is not the person they really are. And we should always respect that, though. When you're outside of the game, there's a other person out there. And Survivor is definitely one of the most amazing games to be able to play. I don't think you can perceive or understand it unless you've been there. It's addictive. It's like a drug. So sign up for the next year. Try and get in. Do everything you can to experience this, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, I got to echo that sentiment. It certainly is something that is very hard to explain to anyone who's not on the season. And Marisha, the reality is that right now things might be feeling a bit overwhelming, and they will for a while afterwards. But I feel like I've begun to sort of shed the regrets from my experiences of Survivor, which are never many regrets. And I feel like I sort of felt a liberation. So this does eventually come to a head where you can look back on it with happiness. And I think the key thing is, well done to the cast of season 8. You guys have been outstanding so far, yourself included. You were a great character. People were invested in your journey and your character arc. My mom was rooting for you very much. She was very disappointed that you were voted out. You were her favorite. And I said, but what is it about Marisha that makes you like her? And she was like, well, she's a mom, you know? And so you were a relatable character. So well done for that. And I think it shows great strength that you've been so beloved, and you were beaten by a very, very good move. So don't feel too bleak about the whole thing, and just try your best as fans to appreciate what we have going on right now. You know, Afrocons with Henry and LaRue and Darren, they've put together something really special, and they love the product. And I'm just a very, very blessed to be proximate to it. And I think we should all be proud of the fact that we've shot a season 5 k's away from the Wild Coast Sun. You know, that's awesome. That's so cool. That's a location you can visit.
It's close to Mike's home, literally very close to his heart. There we go. And then also, it also maybe gives people the feel like while they're playing. Were you ever tempted, Marisha, to run home? I mean, thinking, hey, I can do it.
Just around the corner. I think we could smell the food. It's just around the corner.
No, jeez, imagine that. Also, this just in, Marisha. I don't know if you've seen the comments. You've been getting a lot of love in the comments. Also, Tato saying they're going in, they're gonna enter, or she or he's gonna enter. And then we also got Mike. Tato's also saying we need you back, and also saying Marisha for All Stars. So I mean, a lot of love here in the comments, and thank you to everyone who have tuned in. We really appreciate the comments, and thank you. You really always are part of the show, and we really would like to thank you for that. Marisha, absolute legend. Part of, again, I will leave you on this note, most iconic episode of SurvivorSA to date. Mike Vee, always a pleasure to have you on. Always.
Thanks, guys.
So
I really appreciate you inviting
me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been really fun. Well done, Marisha. Congrats on a good game.
Thanks. Okay, bye, you guys.
Cheers. Bye.